Okay, so now we're going to start creating our characters. To do that, we go down to the bottom here to the right, and I'm going to click on this, which will give me choose a sprite. And I go to the paintbrush, and now I have an area to create a sprite in. So the sprite is a character. A sprite can be anything that you need to move around. It can be an object or a character or a tree or a house or anything you like. So it's just something that you then interact with. Now we don't need this cat sprite anymore, so I'm going to right click and delete. And we have our empty sprite here, well, empty box to make our sprite. And we have a bunch of tools here. So we have our normal kind of select. You may have seen these in basic tools or in more complicated situations such as Photoshop. But we have a select, we have a paintbrush, we have a paint bucket. This is for drawing lines. This is for making squares, like so. I can change the color by moving these around. Our basic color, the saturation, whether you want something to be kind of more pastel-y or faded like that, and the brightness of the color. We can create round shapes or oval shapes. We can write text. So there's some text. And we can also get an eraser or a rubber, and we can just scrub things out. And this tool here, I'll show you in a second because that's a ripper. That's the warp tool. All right, so let's clear all of that off. I will just create another sprite and delete that one I was showing you the tools with, and we're going to make a bird. To do this, I might select a color, something like that for the body, and I'm going to grab the circle, and there's our circle, except I'm after a bit of an oval like this. Now when I let go of it, I can then move it around like so, and I'm going to grab the center and move it onto that center there. Now this is kind of important because when you make a character, you always need to center it, because when the computer is given a set of instructions as to where to put the sprite, it will always reference the center. So make sure you center when you do that. Now that's the body of our bird, and let's give it a head like so, something like that, and maybe a bit of a tail, something like that. Might spin that around a bit, and some wings, or a wing. Because we're in 2D, we won't see two wings as much. Although we could, actually. Why don't we try that? It's always good to experiment when the stakes are low. Okay, there's a couple of wings. The next thing I'm going to do is, I think I might grab some yellow. So let's go over here and move this up so it's more yellow. I'll fix that in a second. And I'm going to draw a beak here. Now I might just move in on this a bit. And that's pretty good. And what I can do here is I might just put a bit more color in there and in there. I can move that around. You can do what you like here. This is just how it's working for me in terms of design. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here. Now, if I want to make this wing green here, because it's a bit too yellow, I can click on the green color, which will give me green, then paint bucket and green. Then I can go back to the circle, and I may want to make just a small circle there. Once again, if I click on the selector tool, I can get my color back. I can paint bucket and make that there. Then I'll go in and I will select and then move it. I want to make it a little bit thinner and move it around that angle and put it on the wing there. Great. I'm just putting these colors here because it's going to make it a bit easier to see when the bird flies around. Now, next thing I might do is do a couple of feet with the line tool. Some very kind of seagull type feet. And I might make this color up here very dark, and grab a circle and put a nice big eye in there so we can see that, and then go back here and select the yellow and make a yellow circle in there. That will be good. Great. So there's our bird. That's all good. But the beak needs a bit of work, doesn't it? Let's quickly go in there and have a look at the beak. And then I get my favorite tool, which is the warp tool. And I might give this a small outline. And the reason I did that was I just want this to stand out a little bit. But I've still got the warp tool. And I'm going to click on that in a couple of different places. Move it around to here, and then bring this one in here. And then I can bring this, stop it being too much of a duck bill. I want to give it a bit more of a beak kind of action like that. And that's kind of cool. The next thing I'd like to do, now we've got this bird, is to give it a couple of different costumes. So we've got costume 1 here. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate that, and with the warp tool I can leave the first one as it is, but the second one I'm going to move things around so that when we want to make the bird fly, we have that chance. So I'm going to move that down and that down so the wings both move down, and this one can maybe come up. Not an expert on birds flying, but I will move everything around just slightly so the bird has a bit more movement. So when I click between the two, we'll see a bit of movement going on there. I might just move that back so it doesn't get too far away from that. Great. Okay, so we've got 2 costumes for the bird, and that will allow it to fly. So that's great.